have to get out and sweep the street. They have to do all of the maintenance on their sweeper. They have to clean them. So sometimes it's just our fault. Maybe they're going too fast. Maybe they're rushing. Maybe they, instead of saying, I'm going to dump all this debris on the street and let the truck come and scoop it up, he just tries to keep going. Sometimes it's part of the machinery on the bottom of the machine. There's called a center dirt deflector. And that's made of rubber, and sometimes that gets worn. We have a real problem understanding in heavy leaf season, when the leaves start to fall. Sometimes these operators have to go back and do 3 or 4 passes. And understand many of the routes, the operator's designed to take, it's 2 hours. So and that was on a 1 pass, so sometimes if you're doing 2 or 3, it's just a time frame. The other issue is that we have a lot of times a resident will have their gardeners come on street sweeping day, and they come after the sweeper goes by, and they blow everything in the street.
Wilma has a question. Wilma with no last name. Question is, do street sweepers use fresh water or recycled water?
They use fresh water.
How can that be changed?
Well, they would have to put recycled water in the fire hydrants.
Next question, Tammy Clements. Tammy Clements. Question is, why is the garbage truck able to pick up at 6:15 a.m.?
You have nobody here from sanitation, so I can't answer that question.
Parking enforcement question by Francine Fear. How long can a car be parked on the street with license plates that have expired? What is the penalty?
Well, they have grace periods. Our officers aren't permitted to enforce the expired plates themselves individually without another citation or violation at the time. So that's normally a call that's referred to LAPD for their enforcement, for issuing the citations.
Have you ever seen it enforced?
Yes.
Mikey Baloney, question for parking enforcement. We have a problem with campers parked on our streets forever, and also commercial vans belonging to homeowners. Anything can be done about those things?
What was the first part?
Campers parked
like motorhomes and things like that. Well, first off, we have to go out. We have to take a look at the location. They have the free use of the road like any other individual within the city. There aren't any illegal postings and so forth, or restrictions on the street. Then the only thing that applies to motorhomes would be, or campers, would be 72-hour parking restriction. And the way the law is written now, they have the right to have that vehicle there up to 72 hours. At the end of 72 hours, they have to move the vehicle, and they'll be cited. But what they mean by moving, it only has to move an inch, and they're within the law. The law was rewritten, actually the municipal code was rewritten to fall in place with the State of California Motor Vehicle Code, and that was something that had to be done. Our municipal code section was a little bit more stringent than what the DMV was, and we were required to come and rewrite our section to be in compliance.
Comment here.
Also, about a year ago, we passed an oversized vehicle ordinance, and the oversized vehicle ordinance allows the council offices by resolution to designate certain streets to be posted with no oversized vehicle parking signs. And an oversized vehicle is defined as a vehicle that is taller than 7 feet and longer than 22 feet. And if we have a resolution that establishes specific blocks, the signs can go up prohibiting those vehicles from parking there. And then if the vehicles are parked there at all, it doesn't have to be 72 hours, it just has to be 72 seconds. The guys can write them a ticket. This program will be rolled out onto the streets in the upcoming months. The only thing that we still have to work out in the details is that at the last minute, it was decided that we have to make permits available to people in case they live in the area and they get home on the weekend and they want to be able to park their RV at their house before they take it to the storage place the next day. So initially we're going to have vending machines in all the police stations, so you could go in, you could get the permit and park your car there. But it turned out the vending machines cost about $10,000 each, so it was really expensive. So instead we decided we're going to use the existing permit sales offices. People can buy the permits in advance, and then it'll be a special permit where you just punch out the date and the date that you're going to be parked on the street, and it'll be a sticker that goes on your bumper. So you can buy them in advance. You can buy up to 3 at a time, because the maximum is 72 hours that you can be on the street. And the permits are going to be $10 a day. So we hope that the cost will, kind of dissuade people from buying permits all the time and parking their vehicles on the street.
John, I'm sorry. I just want to follow up on Mikey's question that if there is an abandoned vehicle, though, if you call 311, they'll put you in touch with the abandoned vehicle department, and they'll go out there and they'll cite the car, and if it's still not moved, then they'll go ahead and tow it.
Ellen Vukovic's question is, how do you make sure that preferential parking permits and guest passes are for residents and their guests, not for businesses? And what can you do about that?
When you go to buy the preferential parking passes, you have to go to a permit sales office and open up an account first before you can buy the permit. The permits are only sold to residents and are only intended to be used by residents and their guests. In order to get the permit, you have to show several types of ID to prove that you live at that address, as well as that your vehicle is registered at that address.
And then what if the resident then sells it to a business?
If the resident sells it to a business and we find out about it, we will send the resident a warning letter letting them know that if we catch them doing that, we will take away their permit parking privileges for 1 year. And then after that, it'll be for 2 years the second time and 3 years the third time.
So who do they contact?
You can call me. 818-374-4688.
The anonymous question is there any enforcement in Parking District 51 during the daytime? It's a 2-hour restriction during the daytime. Is there any enforcement at all?
There is enforcement in the area. One of the major problems that you have is that we have a basic program for the preferential areas plus the time limit areas within the Valley area enforcement. We do have tracking teams that are assigned on a daily basis for this enforcement, and they do go out. We ran the sites, we pulled up the sites to see what type of enforcement is taking place. What happens is that when we have street cleaning, or we have other enforcement issues that come up, other resources, many times they're our higher priority, and then the resources we have assigned to prep parking as well as time limit, they get diverted to these other priorities. Major traffic control situations, fires, whatever, they're at a higher priority, and we start pulling resources at our lower priority levels to meet our obligations in other areas. A prime example would be this last Saturday, when we had the 5 freeway was shut. We had to pull all of our resources out of the field to meet our safety obligations and our obligations to the general public safety. It left us one officer for the whole San Fernando Valley at night to answer radio calls. So there again, they went to prioritizing everything. You know, the same issues during the day.
Also, with the time limit parking, it's not the easiest thing in the world to enforce, because they have to go out, they mark the car, then they have to look at their watch and come back a couple hours later. And so it is kind of tough to do that type of enforcement. But right now, we're doing research with a new type of digital license plate recognition system for the officers to use. So instead of marking